Alright, in order to build a glider, you need the Cascade Engine module, the Aerodynamic module, and the Framework module for the same tier. You would go under Operation Storm, Airdrop Research, Glider, and here you see I have one researching right now, and it takes a while. Glider 1, you just need these 3 parts, takes 12 hours to research and 1000 matrix credits. Glider 2, 3 parts, 24 hours. Glider 3, these 3 parts, 36 hours. Glider 4, 48 hours. And then I want to say it's another 12, like 52 hours to get a Glider 5. If you notice here, these are the stats, and I click through them, and you'll notice that the max energy always stays the same, and you might be wondering where the health and the fluid armor is at for the gliders. Well, the tier of the glider only affects the energy regen, evade range, energy, speed, boost energy, ascend speed, and turn speed. Max energy is always the same, but for things like fluid armor and health, that depends on the kit that you have, the part for the glider. So you see how everything else changed in terms of the stats? I'm going to go ahead and take like a, what do you call it, like a screenshot, and then show you the glider tiers side by side so that way you know. And I would put that right here. So, after you research your glider, you can click on your glider that you newly researched. This is a glider 4. You can hit use, and that'll open up your glider menu with all your fancy gliders. And then you can edit the glider by adding in a part, glider part. So currently, as of Season 0 and 1, there's only one tier for the glider parts. They're all yellow or orange or yellow, flawless. Tier 5 parts for the glider. I don't know if they plan on making any tier 1, 2, 3s, 4s, but they all have a combat readiness of 900 for each part, and that's not including the combat readiness for the glider. So here, in order to build your glider, you need some matrix credits. You got to select which of the types you want to build, and then you essentially equip. You might notice you can't equip certain things here. That's because you have to equip the other parts in order to equip the thing that you want equipped. And if you don't have the part, you can't equip it. So you might see that lock sign. That means you can't equip it because you need the basic item. So without this glider mobile cannon, I can't build any other parts of the sniper kit. Yeah. And when you equip glider parts, you can't mix and match. So you can't put a sword on one, and then you can't put a sniper on the other, or you can't put one Gatling gun on one and a healing drone on the other. So there's no mixing and matching. The moment that you equip one of these on your glider is when you get locked out of the other 4. And an important thing to note is that you cannot unequip glider parts. So let's take a look at this sword tier 1 glider here. I can equip more glider parts on my tier 1 glider here, but as you see, sniper, suppression, support, and enhancement glider packs are locked out. Here are some stats for my support glider. You see that the fluid armor capacity is 50k, and the HP is 110k, and this is for a glider 4. Now for a glider 3 support pack, it's 50k fluid armor capacity and 90k HP. So the HP changes based on the glider tier, but the fluid armor here is the same. Let's see, I have a melee glider 4 with 120k fluid armor capacity and 265k HP. And then I have this melee glider 1 with 120k fluid armor and 160 HP. So HP also goes up with the tier, but not all HP and fluid armor is the same within the same tier. So for instance, the suppression glider has a fluid armor capacity of 60k and HP of 210k. But if we go to the same glider tier but enhancement pack, The fluid armor capacity is 60k and the HP is 155k. So just note that the glider health fluid armor is affected by what kit it is, what pack you have equipped. As a general rule of thumb, you want a glider tier 5, of course, the highest tier. If you can get it, get it. You'll be fine with a glider tier 4 for covert ops, but you're really pushing it if you're trying to push a glider 3. It's not the fastest, not recommended, but if that's all you got, that's all you got. You got to start somewhere, right? As a general rule of thumb, it's not worth using a glider 3, or a 2 or 1 for any PvP or PvE covert ops. I only built these just for the sake of verifying information. As you see, all of their max energy is 40k, but the energy regen and speed is different. So if you look at this glider melee 1, it still has the same damage of 12k, 15k, 20k with a boosted attack activation energy of 3,800, 3,000 per second, sustained energy, and all those stats are the same, right? So I'm going to go back to a glider 4 melee, and then here, same stats. So the glider part that you equip to the glider is going to have the same stats and same combat readiness, regardless of the tier. That's important to note. The tier of the gliders also have different combat readiness. It doesn't say right here, but so right here, 1600 for glider 1, and that's 900 with the equipped weapon part that it has. Here, the combat readiness is 7,300, and that's including all of the equipped parts it has. And here's a higher tier. So this is a tier 3 with 7,300 fully equipped. And then this is a tier 4 with 10,100 fully equipped combat readiness. So you're not going to see a tier 4 fully equipped kitted out in hard. You'll only see that in extreme. Tier 3, so the limit combat readiness for hard difficulty matchback is 6,000. So you're not going to see a fully kitted tier 3 in hard difficulty matchback. Yeah, you can see tier 4s, 5s, and all the above in extreme and covert ops because there's no combat readiness limit. So feel free to do that. I'm going to go ahead and just switch my loadout here to something I don't have, and then equip all my gliders, and then take them to training for funsies. And I will take off one of my enhancements because we don't need. I'll put it glider 1 so you guys can see. Then I'll go into training, which I highly recommend testing out your glider before you test it out on the field, especially if you're going into PvP. So here I have a lot of gliders. I have a total combat readiness of 65k, a little ridiculous. But obviously you can't just use more than one glider at the same time. But you could let your friends borrow your gliders, which I do if they're competent and I trust them to not die or lose my glider. So when you call down a glider, it actually comes down from the sky. It's pretty cool. You can also paint your gliders, and I do that just to make sure I know which one is which, because in the menu it's kind of confusing. And then I can put all my gliders to showcase all this jazz. Alright, oh, so this was the reason why I painted this tier 1 glider was because this is the glider that I stole while I was playing with Full Frontal, and hearing his opinions and takes and information about Matchmock during our little soapbox interview session, open forum on the MechBrick Discord. So I painted this and now I have it. But let's spawn an enemy that's not going to hurt me. Let's do a Tricera because he can take some damage. So here, this is a glider 1. 14,000 damage. 14,000 damage, right? And of course, as I've mentioned earlier, this is also a glider 4. And he's healing right now, so I'll just let him recover his fluid armor. Slowly, ever so slowly, which, I don't know, they really nerfed Tricera's fluid armor regen. I'm not a big fan of that, but I could somewhat understand it. But, yeah, that's just my opinion. See that? 14,000 damage. So, doesn't matter the tier, the damage of the base weapon is going to do the same amount of damage. The only thing that really changes based off of the tier is the HP and the speed and mobility. The fluid armor is based off of what kit you have equipped. As you can see on the bottom here, on the left side is the glider's fluid armor, and on the right side is the HP. So they added that as a Season 1 update to the HUD. If you get on a glider, you can hit F2 and it'll tell you what's on your glider and how to use it. It also shows you your key bindings, which you can also change in the settings or the menu. And then if I get on this glider here and press F2, it only has one item equipped, so it shows you what it has. It's always recommended to learn your glider in training before you take it out in the field. Let's see. The melee glider does a lot of good damage. It also has a great sword and a shield. I don't really use the melee glider much. You can do some range damage here, but this expends a lot of energy. And you can use Corite to recharge your glider. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I recall that being a thing. This is a great... So if you play melee, if you use the melee glider and then you use the boost mode or boost assault thruster and you ram people in walls, for PvP, melee glider is peak. Because look at that Tricera, he's just taking all that health damage just from ramming. But ideally, if you're in a tunnel or something, or you ambush someone and you get them right in a wall, you can really kill them. For covert ops though, melee glider isn't recommended because the damage output isn't as high. It's more single target, kind of like the sniper glider, but the sniper glider's a little better because you get more range and distance. So if you're running PvP, melee glider is definitely the way that you could go. It's not the only way, but it's definitely where the melee glider shines. I've let other people borrow the melee glider. I personally haven't used it in covert ops, but I've let them use mine, and they get around 4 to 5 mil adjusted damage at the end of a covert ops run, which if you're using the other gliders, you can get somewhere between 10 to 15 mil, depending on how much damage your other teammates do. If you're running with your teammates and they all have gliders, you're probably looking at around 9 mil damage, and all 3 of your teammates, or sorry, your 2 other teammates are probably doing about 9-10 mil damage as well, if they only rely on just the glider. The support glider has healing drones, recon, repair drones, which heals quite a lot, 6.5% if I recall correctly, which is beefy. Like, it's the beefiest healing that I know of. The glider emergency defense drone, it helps you deploy tracking drones that generate stasis field to block all attacks, granting stagger. It's kind of like the Panaka's bubble. So, boom, Panaka's bubble, but it's also like a defense field, kind of like the modular weapon. It doesn't clarify whether or not it blocks melee damage, so I would imagine it does, but I don't know for sure. The glider interference kit works similarly to Serenith's Mist, and the glider turret recon drone works like Falcon's radar, so it's really good against Here's the mist, so they can't target me. And here's the recon drone, so it provides radar, kind of like Falcon's radar. Yeah. So this is a support glider is really great for PvP, not necessarily PvE, because PvE you're more focused on damage output, and the chances of you dying are pretty minuscule unless you die by storms. And in which case this might actually be really good for you if you plan on just face tanking storms. But I wouldn't recommend it because damage output is better for clear speeds and getting better loot. This would only just keep you more alive. And you can also use the healing drones on yourself. It targets the nearest available target or friendly. Let me spawn Tricera. Watch how crazy this healing drone is. Like, look at that. That's 2 healing drones. And he's already... Look at... That's just so beefy of healing. It's crazy. Yeah. So healing drones recommended for PvP, provided that your team has a good comp. It could supplement really well for someone who's on a melee glider and you just spam healing drones on them. Or if you have a really aggressive team and you wanted to provide mobile healings. Also, the healing for this support drone, or correction, support glider is great for being a mobile heal station, because one of the biggest benefits of gliders is that they have unlimited ammo or infinite ammo. So you could just bring this around with you guys and heal. It's assuming that for some reason you're taking a lot of hits, which, you know, of course isn't recommended, but it also allows you to play more aggressively, which could help you clear mobs a lot faster. So that is an idea. Here's another one. This is, I think, my tier 3, if I'm not mistaken. One of them is my tier 4, one of them my tier 3. I forget which is which. I think this is my tier 3. I don't know. Anyway, this is a sniper glider, as you see here. It has a mobile beam cannon with a sniper mode. You just aim down scope. Yeah, and it has a multi-lock kit and a charge kit. The charge kit allows you to charge the sniper mode like a Narukami's beam rifle or sniper rifle, or like a modular weapon charge beam cannon. The multi-lock kit allows you to lock onto multiple targets, kind of like Aquila's Ox 3, and it also boosts reload speed of the mobile beam cannon. So the real trick here is you spam a whole bunch of shots in both the non-sniper mode, sniper mode. Get a charge shot in there. Spam all your shots. And then, you know, it takes a while. And then when you want to recharge faster, reload faster, you hit that auto lock kit and it'll allow you to recharge. You could use all your sniper shots. Charge up your charge cannon, but you need a sniper bullet in order to do it. Also, and then swap over to your non-sniper mode, use that, and then use your auto lock kit, and that would probably be the most efficient route in order to do that. Another thing to watch out for if you use the sniper kit is that when you use the charge kit, that you don't accidentally misfire when you use the charge kit, because oftentimes you'll use the charge kit and then you might fire on the first one and that wastes the charge shot. So make sure when you do hit the charge kit that you allow it to charge up all the way. It is a tricky thing and I have messed up on it a whole bunch. As you see on my sniper, I don't have the jamming missiles. So there's no jamming missiles on my sniper glider, which is the one thing I'm missing. But the jamming missiles work similarly to Sky Raider's jamming missiles. So it blocks a whole bunch of energy damage, which is probably really good for Hellcat and for any other enemies that are using snipers against you. So effectively, if you have that jamming kit, you're probably good against most snipers unless they're using a heavy ballistic sniper cannon, which does ballistic damage because, you know, the jamming kit that fires the blue balls doesn't block ballistic damage. And suppression glider. This is the beefiest, probably the easiest to use. I have a guide already on how to use it. They did in season 1 buff the damage on the suppression glider, so that is a good thing. You do have rocket pods that you can use here, and then you have a mobility kit which helps you get around the map a lot faster, and it's really beefy. It's probably the easiest one, has probably the best mobility to use. Just as mentioned in my other enhancement or correction suppression glider guide video, in order to use the reload kit, the auxiliary reload kit, it instantly reloads your Gatling guns and rocket pods, but in order to instantly reload the Gatling guns and rocket pods, they both have to be reloading or on cooldown. So I have to reload my Gatling guns and my rocket pods have to be on cooldown, and then I can use it. You saw how it like went gray for a little bit while I hit reload, and then it pops up. So you can't instantly reload, which is kind of, you know, counterintuitive to the phrase instant reload, but it does instantly reload, but you can't instantly use it, if that makes sense. So usually use this as a salvo, reload early, instant reload, and then get another salvo of rockets, and that would do a lot of damage. And of course, the glider mobility kit, instead of just using shift all the time, which is how most gliders get around, you can use the mobility kit to get around a lot faster, and it has crazy mobility. I haven't raced an Alfred with this, and I imagine a tier 5 could probably catch up, but I don't know. I think an Alfred would win. Another thing with the sniper kit, someone said you couldn't move while sniping. That apparently is no longer the case, so you can move while sniping, but you can't boost. Yeah, that's what they meant. You can't boost while sniping, so you have the boost on your glider for a lot of mobility and evasion to avoid getting hunted and hurt and putting yourself in advantageous positions. But when you're zoomed in on the sniper, you can't boost, which is can complicate things depending on your positioning, so keep that in mind. Going back to the enhancement glider, going through a rundown, you got glider rocket pods, heavy howitzer, jamming haze diffuser, works like stego smoke, glider turret drones, works like hurricane's turret drones, and glider micro missiles, which works like stego's micro missiles. You need a target in order to lock this one on, in order to use the micro missiles. So as soon as I get a target lock, I can use the micro missiles. Throwing down drones. These will shoot at targets up to like 3 or 4 at a time. And then if you really want to grief someone, you go really close and underneath your target in order to use the micro missiles. As you see here, the micro missiles don't hit my target, but if I go far enough away, it does. And there's an optimal range for all that stuff. Yeah, I haven't actually used this in PvP, so the only thing I've seen is a tier 1 glider, and I just use that. The howitzer does a lot of damage, so we can see that whenever Tricera spawns. Okay, howitzer does quite the damage. Yep, and then you can use your micro missiles. That does quite a fair amount of damage. And then if someone's targeting you, You can use the smoke, which also works on your teammates. I don't know if they fixed the bug where the smoke doesn't work on you or the glider. There was a bug in Season 0 where I, was fighting Hellcat. I used the smoke, and Hellcat was still shooting either me or the glider, and that wasn't good for me. So, I don't know if they fixed that bug, but the smoke does work for regenerating fluid armor, I believe, if I get that correct. Fluid armor regen within range and grants them lock-on immunity. Yeah, enhances allies. I don't know if the player on the glider counts as allies. That's the thing. In Season 0, I think it was a bug, but I don't know if they fixed it in Season 1. So keep that in mind if you try to use the smoke for your own defenses rather than your teammates. So yeah, that's my little glider playground. I went over a lot of things. Hopefully all of them were pretty clear. My personal favorite is the enhancement glider for covert ops because I can do a lot of damage and I can move fairly enough. It doesn't have a mobility kit, so I just end up hitting shift everywhere in order to get to where I need, and then I shoot. Here in the suppression glider, you can hit your rocket pods, but you can also be interrupted during your rocket pod barrage. So if you're doing a rocket pod barrage, you can be interrupted with stagger, so don't get staggered while you're on a glider, which you can get staggered while you're on a glider, so keep that in mind. And that will interrupt your abilities if they are, spammable abilities. I don't have enough experience with the melee glider to really say. All I've known is I've stolen a couple of them and gave them to my teammates, and then they were able to kill people by driving them into walls. Like that kind of thing. And it's really annoying because, like, where are they going to go? Now they're stuck between a melee glider that's going to kill them and a wall. That's the best way, I think, to use a melee glider, and that's the only way that I've seen other people just completely murk on other people with melee gliders in PvP that we've stolen from other enemies. I think it was like a Warren bot that was riding a melee glider, and I stole it. And then I gave it to, like, a Panther or something, and I was Panaka, so I gave them a shield on top of that. Oh, side note. Panaka's shield can go on teammates that are on gliders. A big tip for most strikers when they use their abilities, like, Narukami's sisters or Invis Dome, when you hop on a glider... Oh, I didn't know that could happen. Well, they're supposed to disappear to my knowledge, but I guess for Narukami, interestingly enough, that is really cool. I just learned something new today. Okay. So Narukami's sisters work on a glider for invis, which makes the glider invisible, but you saw my dome disappear. So if I put the dome out, the dome disappears. It doesn't go with me. So, for most abilities, except for, I guess, Narukami's decoy drones, or healing, like Panaka or Tricera or Luminae's healing drones, those healing drones don't go away. I just found out that this is a thing. I didn't know this was a thing. I don't know if it's intended. I don't know if it's a bug. But this would make PvP really broken because there's an invisible glider and it looks cool AF right now, I'm not gonna lie. Because, I mean, imagine just riding one of these gliders, having invis and then sniping on an invis glider while having your... Oh, geez, this is grief-worthy. But you know what? I found this out while making this glider guide video, and that's why I recommend making all sorts of tutorial tips and tricks videos to show other people what you got and what you know, and then you actually learn in the process of trying to teach. So that's cool. That seems broken. That probably needs to be nerfed or patched. But you know what? Whatever happens, happens. I would imagine if my teammate rides on a glider, I can probably throw an invis dome on them, and they'll probably be invis too. I haven't tried it, because oftentimes when I run gliders with my team, I am, what do you call it, doing covert ops, or I stole a glider and it's like a tier 1 or 2 glider and it's really not worth keeping. Um, yeah, I think I covered like the basics. I'm gonna go over more basic tips, but that is the general gist of glider and glider talk. Again, if you build your glider, it takes time to get it. You can rush it with matrix credits. I don't necessarily recommend that, and just wait it out. Matrix credits are not necessarily easy to obtain, but you can over time. Um, so just wait the extra whatever day, 2 or 3, in order to get your glider, and you'll be fine. Um, yeah. I am going to build a. I'm gonna look through my items to see what I have, and then I'm gonna build a glider here. So I can go to glider, and I have all these parts. Okay, so I could build another tier 4 suppression glider, which I'm okay with building because I have enough suppression glider parts for a full suppression glider. And then when I get my tier 5 that I'm currently researching, I'm probably going to make that a enhancement glider. But let's go ahead and build a suppression glider to show you what it's like. So you get your empty suppression glider. You make sure you pick on the specific pack. There's melee, sniper, suppression, support, and enhancement. I should probably explain that earlier, but it is what it is. I'm going to build a suppression glider. Notice how it's locked out for auxiliary reload kit? That's because I need to equip these. So when I equip it, cost matrix credits. Notice how I'm locked out of the other ones. And now that I can equip my auxiliary reload kit, because now I have something that can be reloaded, I can equip the glider mobility kit, the rocket pods, the other minigun, and the auxiliary reload kit. Boom. That's a full suppression glider right there. Yeah, so the damage in Season 0 was like 315, but now in Season 1, it's like 365. So technically my enhancement, or my suppression glider guide, is out of date, which is like one of the things I was trying to avoid, is having outdated information. But as of Season 1, the Gatling guns, both of them, got a buff to 365, which is good. So, yeah, it's cool. I just built that. Yeah, this is a glider stuff. Most of my tier 1s I've stolen. I've researched and made, these gliders that have nothing equipped. Overall, if you steal a glider 1, they're kind of not really worth selling. You can sell them for corite, but I don't know who's really buying them, because not a lot of people really use them. So, yeah, I don't know. You can collect them and then sell them for matrix credits if you wanted to. You're not going to get a lot, obviously. 1,300 is not a lot. Even then, it's not worth 7k for this. Pretty sure it costs more to research than it... Like, if we're being honest. So, a glider 1, you can sell for 13k, but in order to research it, it costs 1k matrix credits. So unless you're stealing these gliders and then selling it because you're in dire need of matrix credits, it's oftentimes not worth it. I usually don't care too much about glider 1, 2s, or 3s. Remember, the speed goes up, so if you're doing covert ops, it's highly recommended to get a glider 5, and you can settle for a glider 4. Not recommended to use a glider 3, but if that's all you got, then go for it. Covert ops, you can get a lot of good loot, including a lot of the frameworks and modules that you need for researching a glider. Just keep your eyes out for these things. And also, if you notice that the glider parts, they nerfed the amount that they sold for, but these used to sell for a lot of Matrix credits, but now they don't as much. As you see, these ones only sell, the Glider 3 research data only sells for 200 Matrix credits. It used to be a lot more in Season 0, but now they nerfed that. And then they added the black box and cascade engine module, or the other thing. I forgot what the other thing is. Corrupted Corite thing? Corrupted Cascade Engine, which gives you 50k Matrix credits. Um, yeah. So, yeah, I feel like that's the basics of the gliders stuff. I am probably going to end this portion of the video, show you gameplay of a random glider, and then go through a lot of tips and discussions and stuff, and opinions and stuff. So I'm just going to read off a whole bunch of glider tips and tricks basics. Use the training room to feel comfortable with your glider that you just newly assembled. Melee gliders are great for PvP. Support gliders are also great for PvP. Not recommended to use both for covert ops. Suppression glider is the newbie friendliest glider for covert ops. It's the one with the Gatling guns. The enhancement glider has a lot of rockets and is the best DPS easy for covert ops. Sniper is probably the higher skill toggle for great support to either of the two suppression or enhancement gliders in covert ops. It's great for deleting other snipers, invis sniper bots, which there are a lot of in covert ops purple key runs. For PvP, just note that if you hop off a glider, note that the enemy player can see your glider via glider icon on the map and on the screen, so make note of that should you hop off. Most strikers can't use their abilities, or their abilities turn off when they hop on a glider. So if you pop Stego Smoke or Invis Dome, then it turns off when you hop on a glider. But your teammates can use their abilities to help you on a glider. There are some exceptions, like the healing drones, which persist even if you hop on a glider. So if you're a Panaka or a Lumi or Tricera, then you can hop off, pop a healing drones, and then hop back on, and the healing drones will stay on you. You can use airdrops while on a glider and loot things while on a glider, which is good, and open doors while on a glider. That's also good. The biggest benefit of a glider tier 3 and above is mobility for non-mobility mechs. Think like Tricera or Stego. Alfred still outpaces a lot of gliders, and I haven't raced one in a tier 5 suppression or melee, but I imagine Alfred would still win. The other big benefit with gliders is that they don't consume or require ammo, so you can shoot as you would default weapons and they reload or recharge infinitely. Ideally, only make tier 5 or tier 4 gliders. Tier 1 and 2 are too slow to do solid in covert ops and are practically sniper or flyer food for PvP mashmock. Your striker isn't protected while on a glider, so remember that. If you're a squishy on a glider, you're still squishy. It's suggested to go Tricera or Stego or a tankier unit on a glider, like maybe a Welkin, to ensure you don't crumple faster. This is especially true in covert ops, but in PvP MASH, it's up to you and your playstyle to guarantee the win, and I'll be honest, most of the time, people hop off their gliders to engage in combat against enemy mercenary strikers because they don't want their glider to die in combat, or they can do more damage and have more tight evasive ability off their glider. It really depends on who you're fighting and how the skill matches up, and then how you want to engage or disengage. As a general rule of thumb, if you're fighting an enemy with a suppression or enhancement glider, you want to make sure you have higher elevation so they end up hitting your glider and not you. What I mean is, if you're fighting an enemy while you're on a suppression or enhancement glider, you want to make sure they're hitting the glider and not you, if especially if you're squishy. And just note that energy damage can bypass your glider and hit you for reduced damage, but your glider won't likely die in a few shots. Also note, gliders can be destroyed and there is no way to heal or repair them during a Mashmock mission, so make sure you don't let your glider take too much damage from Hellcat, high threat units, or enemy mercenary strikers. And if you're stealing gliders from other players, make sure you take out the player without damaging the glider as much, or else then when you engage into another enemy team, the weakened glider might just blow up from underneath you, which has happened to me after I stole a glider from an Aquila. It happens. Panaka is a great synergy for glider fun because you can as a Panaka, you can throw a bubble shield on someone on a glider to prevent or reduce sniper harassment. Note that the easiest way to take out a glider is to be above it and shoot the striker on it, because the striker is a lot weaker than the glider itself, although you could just snipe the glider from a faraway distance and not have to worry about it. It just really depends on if you really want to steal the glider or not, and whether or not you think it's worth engaging or not, or whether or not you think you can run away or not. There's a lot of factors going here, so just keep that in mind in PvP. You can also let your friends borrow a glider, and as long as they go to the extraction point and you on a glider go to the extraction point, you get to extract with your glider. If they borrowed a glider from you, then you'll get it back in the mail. Just make sure that if you want to leave with your glider that you are on it when you extract. That's very important. Also note that gliders can fall off the map. During the Hellcat or the other Sky Arena, that's a purple key zone, where you have to kill 80 units, your glider can fall off the map. So make sure you don't drop your glider off the map. That's important. In terms of advanced tips, I did ask for other people's tips, and what I found is that mods can help improve gliders. Not sure if it's intended or not, but there was a test where they did test increased lock-on range mods, and it does work while you're on a glider. So keep in mind of that. I would imagine other mods might actually do that as well, benefit the glider, but further testing is required, so, figure that out, please. If you're aiming to maximize damage in covert ops, use gliders with modular weapons, preferably tier 4 and above weapons. I usually run 2 tier 4 howitzers, but you can get better performance out of a charge blaster and a howitzer combo. Simply spam your glider's weapons, get the reload or the cooldown, hop off immediately, and then start blasting with your modulars. Let that go into reload mode, and then hop back onto your glider, and then you can really maximize your damage that way. You can hop on a glider from a pretty far distance, allowing you to jump out, spam your abilities like a Tricera healing drone, turret form, and then healing drone, and then jump back on mid-flight. This is good for Lumi, Panaka, and Tricera that can jump out and use the healing drones, which don't disappear when you hop back on the glider. As mentioned earlier, Sniper Glider, the auto lock-on kit, reloads faster on both sniper and non-sniper modes, so expand your shots, then reload faster using the auto lock-on kit. The charge kit fires only one shot and does considerable damage, but isn't great for clearing mobs. But it's great for big targets or enemy players if you can land the shot. You can use the jamming missiles against energy damage, which is arguably good for Hellcat, but also consider Enhancement Glider as well, with its smoke. It's a preference thing or skill expression, in my opinion. For the Enhancement Glider, use the blue drones to shoot down enemy missiles, including the Constantines or the frigates or Hellcat when he shoots a lot of those missiles. Highly recommended to use those defense drones to shoot down with their blue lasers. If you can position yourself underneath a troop ship or a Phase 2 Constantine, where the Constantine's up in the air in the weird glider form, you can launch your missile barrage and most of it will hit. Also, feel free to angle yourself perpendicular to get the missile barrages to hit from the side, because they do come out of the side rocket pods of the glider. This is very risky, but you could also do this on Hellcat, because why would you want to face hug a Hellcat on a glider? But it's still possible. If you face hug a drill, you can launch your missiles and most will hit the upper ring of the drill and do serious damage. This is also true for Stego's default abilities. Great for covert ops. Know that a lot of enemy NPCs shoot down your missiles, so if you use your rocket barrage, your micro missiles on your enhancement glider, it may get intercepted by anti-air guns on a frigate or some smaller chaff. Consider that when spamming your abilities to look for an optimal window for a rocket spam. Hellcat does shoot a bunch of lasers everywhere. There's one where he shoots like a circle of a whole bunch of red lasers down and up, or up and down, I forgot which direction. And the enhancement glider's missile barrage can be intercepted by these lasers, so time it when he's not shooting a bunch of lasers. My only melee glider tip is to ram people into walls, and they're stuck, and then they die. They crumple like paper, it's easy. So use melee gliders in tight spaces, and not a lot of enemies will survive. Recommended to use tunnels or ambush them, and they get really dead. I honestly don't run the Sport Glider and can see it being viable in PvP as a mobile repair station because its beefy healing drones can really heal better than anything. Like a tier 5 repair station does only 5% healing, but the support glider does 6% healing. Anyways, thanks for checking out my glider guide thing. For glider specific videos, you can check out Avocado's channel as well as my Covert Ops Runs playlist. I'm going to link those in the description. Thanks for watching. Sorry this took so long to make. I was going to make it in the tail end of Season 0, but they announced they'd push the Season 1 launch up and then back again, and then I didn't know if they were going to rework gliders, so I didn't want to push out old or irrelevant information just to be reworked and patched in the next update. In any case, they did buff the suppression glider damage, and they gave us a really cool HUD for gliders that's easier to see the health and fluid armor, so that's neat. I hope this video was informational. Sorry that it was long. Sorry that I was tired. I was just working all day. Um, yeah, yeah. Enjoy life, please. Hopefully I covered everything that I wished I would have known when getting into gliders. And then hopefully you got something out of this too, because I don't see a lot of information out there. At least not for newbies. You just gotta sort of sink or swim with all the content out there. So, hope this helps you. Cheers. Injecting hopium particles.